Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. My YouTube channel is a smokescreen Perna. Now we're roughly a week away from the NFL draft, which means all of the lies about which players certain teams like will be more prevalent than ever. The trade rumors afloating. Bryce Young was the best quarterback in this draft until the Panthers traded up to the number one spot where we assumed they'd be grabbing CJ Stroud. This week, Bryce Young canceled the remainder of his draft visits and is now projected to be the first pick by the Panthers. And now the Texans at spot number 2 might be trying to trade away that pick and also acquire the 49ers quarterback Trey Lance. Someone's trying to trade for Lance somewhere, so I will figure it out after we get through some of the biggest stories from this week around the NFL, maybe other sports. That's good sports. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for NFL news, and if we get to 500,000 subscribers by the end of the day, I will get a teardrop tattoo on my face. But if you zoom into that teardrop tattoo, it will be Russell Wilson. Also, if you want to support me, my coffee company, BenchwarmerBrew.com. That's a great way to do it. Sign up for the subscription service. It's the cheapest way to get my coffee, because coffee ain't cheap, and we offer craft quality beans. I get the best beans. Also, for all $10 patrons, I fixed the Discord link on Patreon and in the $10 YouTube community tab, so that's working if you had any issues. And I do have shout outs for new patrons, Jeff Vickery and Alex Cherrier. Thank you guys so much for your support. Patreon.com/thatsgoodsports. All right, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles agreed to a 5-year, $255 million deal that includes $179 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid player in NFL history. Now, there's really no doubt that Hurts has simply earned this deal. He's gotten better every single year since he was taken in the second round in 2020, and he played almost flawlessly in the Eagles' Super Bowl loss a couple months ago. Hurts also got the richest deal in football thanks in part to an all-woman management team, proving that even after the 2016 Ghostbusters film, that an all-female cast can pay dividends. Now, my favorite baseball player is, and I never thought I'd say this, a member of the Boston Red Sox. Here is Alex.
What's going through your mind as you're taking time to really evaluate that play again?
Please be fucking fair. Oh, my bad. But please be fair, man. I was like, I just didn't want to pull one and fucking, that dang. I didn't want.
We're live, Alex.
Sorry, guys.
Never apologize for being profane, Alex. Never titty, fart, gobble, fuck, cock, apologize, Alex. Don't do it. Draymond Green has been suspended for Game 3 of the first round series between the Kings and the Warriors after Green stepped on Kings forward Domantas Sabonis in the fourth quarter of the Warriors' loss. In the NBA's statement, they pointed to Green's history of this kind of behavior, kind of like the time he kicked Steven Adams in the balls 7 years ago. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver was at the game in Sacramento, meaning he got a close-up look at the stomp, as well as Green's antics afterwards, riling up the crowd before he was ejected. I think Green should also have to sit on the beam the next time the Kings win. I want to see that light coming out of his eyes. Russell Wilson was involved in a golf cart accident at the Littleton Arrowhead Golf Course last weekend. It sounds like Russ wasn't driving the cart, but it flipped into a bunker, and fortunately, no one was hurt. It's the off-season. We shouldn't be having disastrous drives at Arrowhead until the fall. This was, of course, another chance for everyone to make Let's Ride memes, because apparently it's still September 2022. And October 2022, and November 2022, and December 2022 until Christmas revived the Let's Cook meme. Good news, Bill safety Damar Hamlin has been cleared to resume football activities, which for the Bills is losing in the playoffs after tricking me into believing they can get to the Super Bowl. Hamlin has been cleared just a few months after literally dying on the field and being resuscitated in front of the entire nation. Hamlin Hamlin is going to return to the Buffalo secondary, which is great for Hamlin and for the Bills, who really missed his presence back there after the injury. Can we call literally dying on the field an injury? That doesn't seem fitting. Either way, this is a tremendous comeback. And prayers for anyone else who thought they might have a chance to win Comeback Player of the Year this coming season. A Washington Commanders sale is happening, right? Right. We know that Dan Snyder is selling the Commanders, but who's going to buy them is a different matter entirely. We thought we had clarity. One of the key bidders is Josh Harris, a private equity investor who also owns the 76ers. Another is Brian Davis, who was once sued after he failed to pay a loan taken out to buy the Memphis Grizzlies. There are reports that some of Davis's money comes from Saudi Arabia, which is generally frowned upon given their less than stellar track record with human rights violations. Ultimately, you have to ask yourself, are the Saudis actually worse than Dan Snyder? Well, the good news, Cardinals owner Michael Bidwell is ready to assume the role of NFL's worst owner once Snyder leaves. But probably need a full video on that. All right, the main story. Alabama cornerback Bryce Forever Young is now expected to go number 1 overall. Young, dumb, and full of going number 1. Here's a surprising fact. Alabama actually hasn't had a player go number 1 overall since 1948. Joe Namath went to the Jets first overall, but they were still a lowly AFL team at the time. With the draft rapidly approaching, it's starting to look more and more likely that Bryce Young will be the first overall pick by the Carolina Panthers when they are on the clock. At first, it looked like CJ Stroud was going to be the pick, but mysteriously, his stock has fallen after it seemed like Panthers QB coach Josh McCown was all over him, telegraphing their pick. Panthers GM Scott Fitterer told reporters that the team has not made a decision about what they will do with pick number 1, which seems like a giant fucking lie after trading into that spot and making your best offensive player in DJ Moore part of that trade. That's like announcing to all of your family and all of your friends that you're getting married, but showing up to the wedding and then randomly selecting from one of the 5 bridesmaids to be your wife. We know McCown loves CJ Stroud, but who does new head coach Frank Reich really love? And who does GM Scott Fitterer love? Or think will be the best fitterer for their team? Well, if the answer to that is Bryce Young, then the Texans not drafting a QB at spot number 2 makes a little more sense if they have Young graded significantly higher than all of the other QBs in this draft. They could also like Stroud, Richardson, and Levis equally and be willing to drop from 2 to say 4 with the Colts and take my bridesmaid approach, which makes sense in that scenario if you can buy a divisional trade like that. But NFL coaches, scouts, and GMs never really like a bunch of top QBs equally, do they? So the Texans at spot number 2 are now a wild card. Stroud suddenly isn't the Panthers guy, and the 49ers are answering calls about a possible Trey Lance trade, which the Texans are being linked to, possibly because of the time DeMeco Ryans had in San Francisco. Maybe he believes Trey Lance is just as good as any QB not named Young in this draft, and if he believes that, he sees great value in giving up like a 3rd or 2nd rounder tops for Trey Lance and using his 2nd pick to trade back and then still nab 2 top 12 picks in this draft, or just pick the best player available at 2. Now, Ian Rappaport reported that the 49ers are receiving calls regarding the trade status of Trey Lance, who's turned into something of an afterthought in San Francisco after the emergence of old Sturdy Purdy last season. But Ian did not mention which teams are making those calls. Literally, not a single team mentioned. There are 2 questions I want to know. If they do trade Lance, what will they get in return? And furthermore, what would that mean about Brock Purdy's chances of a week 1 recovery? I think Purdy has earned the job, but I wonder if the 49ers would be comfortable with Sam Darnold playing for a chunk of the season. Although I have no doubt Kyle Shanahan will get him playing like 2016 USC Sam Darnold. Also, what would it say about Trey Lance if he's the one quarterback Kyle Shanahan doesn't think he can get good football out of? How many teams think they've got a better guy to work with the quarterback than Kyle Shanahan? It's also worth pointing out that the 49ers have 11 picks in the upcoming draft, more if they deal Lance, so it wouldn't be out of the question for them to take a flyer on a mid-round QB as well. Hell, Teddy Bridgewater, still a free agent. And if I can make a case for XFL stud Ben DiNucci, I will. My point is if they do lose Lance, there's options to fill that void. What's a good landing spot for Trey Lance? At this point, the most eligible team would have to be the guys who don't want to take a quarterback despite having second overall pick and desperately needing a quarterback. So back to the Texans. They don't seem thrilled about getting the Panthers leftovers, and maybe the fact that Marcus Mariota, Carson Wentz, RG3, Zach Wilson, and Ryan Leaf have perpetuated the curse of the number 2 overall quarterback taken too well for them. Maybe they're scared of that. At this point, they could take an edge rusher like Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson at number 2, or they can trade back and add to their already 12 picks, including 3 of the top 33 picks. The Texans are a team with a lot of holes, so I don't hate the idea of collecting a ton of assets, but they better be damn sure that none of those quarterbacks is worth the second pick, and I think Stroud is for sure. They also still have 2 first-round picks in the next draft. Take a QB this year, and if you're not happy, take one next year. Do not Texan yourselves. All the top teams projected to be Super Bowl favorites have quarterbacks. The Eagles, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals. Nobody is basing these picks off of their edge rushers or corners. In fact, the Texans are currently dead last in Super Bowl odds, and maybe that's because Vegas knows that they're going to screw up this draft already. If you can't develop CJ Stroud, that says more about your organization than anything. If it's not him, it's still bad if you can't develop Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. Are you going to have 3 first-rounders in 2024 and get Caleb Williams? That seems feasible, actually. If that happens, then I will apologize. And I will applaud. I will applaud your chess playing, Houston, and your patience. That will be slick. But are you going to finish last because the Colts and the Titans beat your ass with Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud? One team we know that has inquired about Trey Lance is the Minnesota Vikings. That makes sense, considering they're going to move on from Kirk Cousins after this season. The issue with the Vikings right now is they don't have enough draft capital in this draft to make a trade for Trey Lance so he can come in, sit behind Kirk Cousins, get warmed up to that Minnesota whatever. So they probably would be trading a 2024 draft pick while also looking at Trey Lance as a 2024 option for the team. A third rounder in 2024 for Trey Lance makes a ton of sense for Minnesota. I'm not sure the Niners are willing to accept that. Part of me hopes the Raiders are the team calling the 49ers right now. I hope Trey Lance can resume backup duties behind Jimmy G and the Raiders have to settle for Lance after not getting the quarterback they want in this draft because the Texans and Colts both drafted QBs, and even maybe the Titans jumped the Raiders for the guy that they were about to take. All of the teams possibly calling on Trey Lance are probably teams that can draft a QB. Lance feels like a plan for a team that doesn't land the guy they want. Hell, maybe even the Cardinals would call. They need a guy for 2023. Then, yes, Colts, Raiders, Falcons, and my sleeper team, the Titans, could be calling for Trey Lance. And maybe the Ravens made a call to the 49ers looking for Lamar's replacement, not this season, but in 2024. I don't know. But if Stroud does fall, then I have to imagine Will Levis falls, and I have to predict everything we thought about this quarterback draft class was wrong. Shit, the Texans are going to make me look really dumb and draft Anthony Richardson at 12, aren't they? Like they knew they could get him there the whole time, and they were just patient and get him at great value. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube for more NFL news updates. And don't forget all of our balls deep dive breakdowns Those videos are on the playlist, Balls Deep.